All right, so it'll be item 14, but it's the late item. And just to report to councillors that...
Sorry, Jim, did you get a mover to come out of public exclusion?
We don't need to.
We don't need to, Marcus.
Sorry.
No, we're good.
Okay, so yeah, back onto the item 14, the late item, and I've received an email from Elwyn Andre Wilton's tendering her resignation in relation to the operation of a sand quarry on property owned by her and husband and sons. So the quarry was operating without resource consent, and so Elwyn has tendered her resignation, which has to be, it was over the weekend. This has to be formalised, and I'll hand over to Gary to give you the process from here.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we've been in contact with Councillor Elwyn this morning, and her resignation doesn't take effect until I have received the formal notice that Jim received over the weekend. Immediately I receive that request, my job is to provide you with a report outlining the options, and there are three. One is to conduct a by-election, two is to make an appointment to Elwyn's position, and three is to leave that vacant. So I'll bring a report back to you outlining that. The other issue, of course, is that we will need to look at further appointments to the committees that Councillor Elwyn was part of. And I think the most important one there is the Mangatautari Reserve Management Committee. So we'll need to make an appointment for that. Joe, can you just outline the process? Is that something that His Worship can do, or will that need to come back to the council?
In terms of the appointment of the chair, at the start of the term, the Mayor did advise of his appointment for Elwyn to chair of Mangatautari Committee, and then that was confirmed and advised to the councillors. We also have the things like the Heritage Fund that she sits on that we'll need to sort out, because at the moment, in terms of that group, it's just Councillor O'Regan and Councillor Barnes, and Councillor Barnes has been vacant. It's been on a leave of absence for a while, so with Elwyn going, that'll leave us down to one. So probably the easiest way to deal with that is to potentially wrap that up in one report to council, which can come in May, which would advise of the council's options, so they can either appoint to that position or leave it vacant, and we can also tidy up the appointments in terms of the chair and see if we can sort out that heritage advisory subgroup and see if they wanted to make another appointment. I noted down that Waikato Tainui JMA was something she also sat on, so I have to consider if you want any other replacements to that. So if we have one report to deal with solutions going forward and two positions on committees and other groups, would probably be the simplest way to tidy that up.
Thanks, Joe.
Just a point of clarification, wasn't she not also on the Cambridge Community Board as the Mangatautari representative?
She was, but as that is a specific seat allocated to that councillor position, there won't be a replacement.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's only one member for the Mangatautari ward.
Yeah.
Clear.
Yeah. Well, will Gary be able to cover that off in his report about the options, because it just means that if it's chosen to leave that vacant, it means that affects the community board as well as the council.
Yep. I think it needs to form part of the report, and it will influence our discussion in terms of what action we take. Yep.
Yeah, and in terms of just to note the intention to fill this, it's quite a process. You have to develop some criteria. You make a decision on a person and the criteria in which you chose that person, and then a notice has to go into the paper. And then within 30 days, then you've got to confirm that position, and it's not until that position is confirmed that that person is appointed, and then also they need to be sworn in. So we came across this issue last year and over the start of this year with the vacancy that was created on the Tiamuru Community Board, and it is actually kind of quite a process in terms of time to get someone up and running. So that's just something to kind of bear in mind.
So I think, Claire, that all has to be part of our consideration when we realise the elections are coming up in October, and there's no, well, without prejudging what's going to come back to us, we've got to be mindful that if we're going to go for an appointment or run a by-election, we're going to be lucky to squeeze it in before October. So those are issues that we've obviously got to be aware about.
Yeah, and just because we're in this 12-month period where it's so close to the elections, we can't have a by-election now. So it'll just be leaving it vacant or filling that position will be the two options in the report.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Okay, any questions or, Claire, sorry.
Yeah, just another question there. So obviously Gary can't provide that report to us today, but when's it likely that we would get the report?
It'd go on the May Council. It's appropriate that it goes to Council for a decision, and then as well, because it was Council that did those appointments to those other groups like Heritage and that. So we can take that all and that will go at end of May.
Okay, so we've got to wait at least a month, yeah. And so there's no arrangements in the interim. Yeah.
No.
Okay. No,
certainly just in terms of if there is some concern that there's not enough coverage on the Cambridge Community Board, or we can have a talk to the chair, and even if we can't do a formal appointment to the board, if there is thought to be some value in another councillor sitting in on the meeting, we can always do that without a formal appointment if that is a concern.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any comments from the councillor? Liz and then Philip.
Thanks, Jim. Hey, I'm just mindful of the residents in the Mangatotiri ward who just may have concerns or issues, not related to this specifically, but may want to reach out to a councillor. So I'm wondering if there's perhaps a communication that, obviously all the Cambridge ward councillors and perhaps others too are open, receptive to receiving any concerns on any matters that are council related.
Yep,
so there's just not a gap there. Yeah,
willing, Liz.
Thanks, Liz. Philip.
Thanks, Mayor Jim. Just with regards to waiting till the May council meeting, is there room to call an emergency council meeting if we need to make a decision sooner? Is there a certain time frame these decisions are going to be made?
Gary, do you want to comment on that?
Thank you, Worship. If council wishes to have a special council meeting, then we can arrange that if you want to consider this matter soon.
Yeah. So in formulating the report, Gary, I think we need to be guided by you. If you felt that it was urgent, then yes, we'll call a special meeting. If not, deal with it in the normal course of events.
Yes, Your Worship, and of course we also appreciate feedback from elected members on what options they might want factored into the report as well. So as I say, we've got 3 options and there are various permutations there. The question of an appointment obviously has to be accompanied by criteria, and so any feedback on those issues very happy to receive, but we can call a special council meeting if you wish. It's a very full agenda in the next month because of annual plan and transport strategy hearings.
Just in terms of, I've just had a quick look at the legislation. It said you can't consider it an extraordinary, so there's a few provisions that we just need to make sure we cover off. It's quite a particular piece of legislation, but certainly if there is concern about those committees and things that she sits on, then we can make sure that there is support to those. We probably do need to do a bit of work around that Heritage Advisory subgroup with the Heritage team and talking to Councillor O'Regan in terms of what we'll do with that going forward. So that might take a week or two to kind of pull together what might be an appropriate solution on that front.
Thanks, Jo. Any other comments that anyone has? Susan?
Yeah, thank you, Jim. And yeah, I was just going to add, actually echo Liz's sentiments around sort of expressing or somehow communicating with the residents of the Mangatautari ward that that there are councillors out there who'd be more than willing and keen to hear from them if they have issues that they would normally have raised with the councillor. And obviously being the neighbouring rural one, I'm happy to be considered as one of those as well. Yeah, I'm not sure about Jo, following on from your comment about the Heritage Committee. I'm not sure when we're expected to meet again.
I think there's another round in June, July with a new funding thing that I think I saw. So we will have to sort that out.
Okay.
Just came to mind that there is the community board's rural tours that the councillors are invited on to. That'll be happening in the Mangatautari area over May. So that may be a great opportunity in terms of connecting with rural people if people haven't put their name, Cambridge councillors haven't put their name forward for that to get involved.
I'll happily join with that tour if there needs to be a bit of connectivity to council, and being the rural ward this side, it kind of makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, so I've already committed to doing those 2 tours this year as well, Susan. So it'd be grateful if you were in attendance, particularly as and look, I'm not prejudging it, but Graham usually goes along to those tours as well, and I'm not just sure whether he'll be up to that. So yeah, so it's good to have some support for the community board. Any other comments? Liz?
Yeah, just one last one, Jim. So I guess I'm just mindful that at the moment we are, we've got Hazel obviously on leave, we've got Graham, and now of course we've got a third councillor now not around the table. So I'm just really mindful around that, and I guess it'll be addressed in the report. But yeah, we're not the full ship as such. So yeah, look forward to the report, and I guess yeah, I'll just be interested in how we might be looking to deal with this.
Okay, thanks, Liz. Mike, and then Marcus.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I guess one thing that hasn't been mentioned is I'd just like to acknowledge the work that Elwyn has done over the last sort of 5 and a bit years as a councillor on that Mangatautari ward, but also on the community board before that. I mean, she has done quite a bit of work out there. I don't think we've talked about that. So yeah, I don't know every bit of detail of what's happened here, but I'd just like to acknowledge the work she has done for Waipa over the tenure that she has served, really.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Yeah, Marcus.
I'm just wondering, can we have an update on Hazel as well? Like, is she going to be coming back, or what's the timeline there?
Marcus, look, I can't comment specifically on Hazel's position at the moment, but my understanding is that she has every intention of coming back, but that's not something that we should be discussing in an open meeting without talking or getting some direction from her. Councillor Brown?
Through you, Your Worship, I just wanted to make a comment quickly that with our new structure that we're going to operate with, we will only have 10 councillors, so we will be reducing down, plus the 1 Maori ward. So we, just to reply to the Deputy Mayor, I think we would have to look at that infrastructure and adjust ourselves to operate within that.
Yeah, thanks, Lou. Everybody okay? Look, Mike, I'd certainly pick up on your comments, and it definitely does need some recognition, and I'm more than happy to write to Elwyn. And look, this is just a situation that has occurred that's a real lesson that the conflicts of interest issue is a serious issue that we all need to bear in mind every day, I suppose, and it's not when there is actually a conflict, it's when there can be a perceived conflict of interest. And I'm really confident with the inquiries that I've been able to make so far that there has been no actual conflict or bias in any dealings. But the perception out there in the community is that there could have been, and that's the issue that we all need to bear in mind when we make those declarations. So yeah, it's an extremely unfortunate situation that we found ourselves in, but it's a teachable moment, I would suggest. So, Gary, did you have a final comment, or you're okay?
No, Your Worship. We'll just look quickly to get this report together as quickly as we can, and Joe's advice is that we need to do it at an ordinary council meeting as opposed to an extraordinary one. So if councillors have any feedback to provide staff as we prepare that report around criteria or desirability of filling that position or leaving it vacant, we're very happy to hear about that.
Yeah. So, yeah, okay, thanks, Gary. So I think, as you say, Mike, Elwyn's been on either the community board or council for 10 years or thereabouts, and she definitely does need some support, I would suggest. So, and I'm happy to follow that up. Right. Okay. We can't make any decisions. It was a late item, but that's the direction that we're giving Gary. So if everyone's comfortable with that, I won't ask for any mover or seconder, but that's the direction we'll take. And as I say, more than happy to take any questions offline. Yes, Mike.
Sorry, just a clarification question, and the answer might be obvious, but if there was an appointment, Gary or Joe, could that be, say for, I'm just thinking about the community board position, for instance, could that be an internal appointment within an existing councillor? I'm thinking no, but or would it be an external appointment from someone who's not already involved in community board or council?
It actually has to be the Maungatautari ward member. So if you don't decide not to fill that position, then the position to the community board will be vacant. And then even if you do fill it, it would be some time. I mean, it will take a couple, by the time if we do it at the report in May, and then we have to advertise, we won't be coming back till June until they're confirmed, and then they'll need to be sworn in before they can act. And so it wouldn't be until that time.